What's up, everybody? It's a beautiful Tuesday. Looks overcast, but it is going to warm up later in the day. It's summer. It is summer in Los Angeles, which means it's going to get super hot and super dry. Looking forward to that. But today, since it's been a while, today I want to talk about the 5 mistakes that I've made when I was changing my life. And this isn't a one-time thing. There wasn't one moment where I was like, you know what, I'm going to change my life for the better. No, that's happened a lot over my span of 28 years alive. I have tried to change my life for the better many times, and there were so many mistakes that I made, so many pitfalls, so many roadblocks that just made me stumble and fall and go back to my old life. So I want to go over them so that you can avoid these mistakes. Maybe you're in that kind of transitionary period, or maybe you decided, you know what, I do want to change my life now. I do want to become something that I was meant to be, instead of just living out this life on autopilot. Because that's what essentially I was doing, was living my life on autopilot. So I want to go over those 5 things. But first, I'm going to head to the gym. I'm going to get a good, this is a push day. So I'm working out my chest, my shoulders, my triceps. It's going to be a lot of fun. Catch you guys in a bit. What's up, everybody? We're back. It's like 2:30 p.m. right now. The work's been a little slow, so I thought I'd do a little bit of, I thought I'd talk about my first point while I'm still looking for work. So, what's the first mistake that I made when I was trying to change my life? Well, the first mistake that I made was talking with affirmers. Talking with affirmers is probably the worst thing you can do when you're trying to change your life. Now, most people, when they decide to make a decision to change their life, they're looking at something that they want, some kind of lifestyle that they don't have that they want. Or more often, it's a traumatic event, something that happened that realized, wow, I can't live like this. I'm not this isn't the person that I want to be. And more often than not, it's like a heartbreak. I'm just gonna use heartbreak as an example throughout this whole thing. So heartbreak, maybe a friend betrayed you, maybe a spouse, or maybe a girlfriend betrayed you, or maybe you broke up for whatever reason. But talking with affirmers is the worst thing you can do. Like now you're in the zone where, like, all right, I'm gonna change my life. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna make a ton of money. I'm gonna do all these things that are good for me and good for the people around me. I'm going to start making that change. The worst thing you do, talk with affirmers. If, say you have a friend that comes along, you hang out and, hey, you call them up, hey, me and whoever just broke up, you want to hang out, and they'll be like, hey, you know what? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's her fault. Or, hey, you know what? He wasn't good for you anyway. You shouldn't change. You don't need to change. It was their fault. It was their responsibility. You don't need to take any responsibility. Those are the worst people to talk to, especially when you're going through all of that stuff. Worst people to talk to you. Maybe it'll make you feel better, but it's not going to serve you in the long run. You're just going to run into the same mistakes again because you have not taken any kind of responsibility for it. And when you don't take responsibility for what happened to you, then you learn nothing. You have learned nothing from that. When you do not take responsibility for something, you learn nothing from that situation. And I'm not even saying that you're taking 100% responsibility. Maybe a majority of the responsibility, maybe a majority of whatever heartbreak, maybe a majority of that heartbreak isn't your fault. But wherever you can extract responsibility from that situation, do it so that you can learn from it. Learn learn why the relationship fell apart. Learn why she cheated on you. Learn why he cheated on you. Learn all of those things and discover and see the signs and be like, okay, I've been through this before. I've learned from it. Now I'll know how to proceed without doing anything too emotional. That's how you learn. That's how you learn from life, is when you take responsibility. And wherever you can take responsibility, do it. Even if it's not 100% your fault. Even if it's not 90% your fault. Even if it's only 10% or even 1% your fault, grab that percentage and be like, okay, I'm going to learn from this. And the worst thing you could do is talk to somebody that says, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You don't need to change. It's their fault. The best people to talk to, inversely, the best people you can talk to is say, okay, that sucks. I'm very sorry that happened to you. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do about it? What can you change? What happened? Let's analyze what happened that led to this moment of heartbreak. What happened? Let me know. I want to know. I want to hear it so what are you going to do about it? And sometimes you won't even know the answer. And sometimes they will. And they'll be like, okay, let's go work out together. Or let's go make some money together. Or let's do something productive with all of this negative emotion so that it turns into a positive, right? That's how that's how you change your life for the better, is learning from those mistakes and also channeling those negative emotions into something positive, right? So yeah, that's my first biggest mistake when I was starting to come up, was talking with people that just constantly affirmed me, that kept telling me nothing's my fault, that kept telling me, oh, she wasn't good enough for you anyway, or that she wasn't worth it. And don't worry, you don't have to change. She has to change. She's crazy. No, the best thing was for me to accept responsibility where I could have, and then grow from it. Because when I started thinking, oh, maybe I should change this about myself. Maybe I should start working out, eating better, or focusing on my studies. Along comes my friend, telling me nothing's my fault, you don't need to change. And now all of a sudden I don't have this motivation to change anymore. Now all of a sudden I'm like, it's not me, it's that person. I don't need to change. I don't need to grow. I don't need to develop my character into something admirable and respectable. No, I don't need to change at all. And that's just, that was the worst mistake I've ever made, because that's happened so many times in my life. And it's not to say that I've cut off people that are the affirmers, but I don't really listen to them anymore. Every single time they tell me it's not my fault, I just say, oh yeah, thanks, thank you. I appreciate that. And I know deep inside they're not correct. Wherever I can take responsibility, now I take it. So I have something to learn from. And so I have an ability to grow from it. And it hurts. It sucks. But change is painful. So get used to that. And trust me, it's totally worth it. And the second mistake that I made was taking days off. No, when you start finally getting into a schedule, you start really locking in on that schedule. You start to work out more, you start to eat healthier, all of these things, and you start doing it over and over and over again. It starts becoming repetitive. And eventually you get tired. I mean, I remember when I started working out, when I started to really focus on working out and building a healthy body as well as eating healthier, I would be super sore, or I would get really sick of the food I was eating. And maybe I would go and take a day off. Just don't go to the gym today. Don't exercise today. Just take it easy. I'm just so sore. I can't do it. Or maybe I'm stuck on this new diet thing and I'm really miserable and it sucks. So I'm just gonna have a burger. I'm gonna have a burger and fries and it'll be fine. I'll continue it the next day. Well, eventually those days off become more frequent until you're taking more days off than you are sticking to your schedule. And that's happened to me a lot when I was starting to change my life, when I was starting to make these new changes. and trying to implement them and trying to do them every single day. And it was even tougher to do dieting when I was living with my parents. It was way harder to diet with my parents around because they would eat whatever they want, and I didn't, because that was all there is to eat, and it's free. And to eat the way I want, I would have to eat separate from the family. So that was even harder. But those 1 days off, that 1 day off snowballed into multiple days off where I could not stick with my routine. And I ended up just going back to the way I used to live. Not eating healthy, not exercising, not working hard at all, playing video games all day. It would happen all the time. And it was because I allowed myself that 1 day off. See, when you have that schedule and you stick with it, you really got to stick with it. It needs to become your new norm. And the hard thing about it is it has to be active. It has to be really, you're basically actively choosing to do this every single day. You know how miserable it is. You know how much it hurts. But you have to actively choose to do it every single day. Eventually it becomes a pattern, a routine, a habit. And it's something you just got to develop. And I know that if I take 1 day off, I'm going to be really upset. If I take 1 day off of my schedule, I'm going to be really upset because I know that 1 day off will snowball. So whenever I can, I stick to my schedule. Obviously, some things happen, things get in the way, it happens sometimes. And sometimes you can't exercise for some reason. Maybe you have an injury. Or sometimes you get invited, you have to eat with your family. Your family came over, you got to eat with them. All of those things, and you really got to, sometimes having that 1 day off is fine, as long as you understand that this is not a common thing. And it's very easy to go back to your old life. It's very easy to just go back on autopilot, not exercise, eat like crap, and not focus on anything, play video games all day, all of that. That's so easy to do. So you need to build that kind of discipline for yourself. I get really mad at myself if I am not on my schedule. If I'm longer than 3 days. If I have to spend 3 days outside of doing the things that I need to do, I get really anxious and I get really upset because I know that if I continue having these days off, I'm just going to go back to the life that I used to live. And that has become unacceptable to me. And it's a great mindset to have, is the way that I used to be is now unacceptable. And I get really upset if something like that happens. So I hope, you can when you can develop that mindset, make sure that you do not take a day off. And if you do, make sure you get back on that. Get back on the horse, get back on the mindset, stick to that plan. Super important. Mistake number 3, not talking to like-minded individuals. Now, there is a huge advantage to doing things by yourself. You get to move faster, make decisions faster. You don't have to delegate, and you don't have to watch over people to make sure they're doing what they're doing. But even though it is faster, it's hard to continue going, right? It's hard to continue when you're doing things by yourself. You can sprint for a long time by yourself, but when you need to run a marathon, it's easier to do with other people by your side. So, when it comes to making those huge changes, you're going to have to find people that are also going through those changes, or people that have already gone through those changes and want you on their team. They can see that you're willing to change. They can see you're willing to make that commitment, and they can take you and bring you up to their level. Or finding people that are on the same level as you that say, hey, this life that I'm living right now is unacceptable. We need to change for the better. We need to become men. All right? So let's do this thing together, because it's you'll go a lot further than just doing things by yourself. And it's very difficult. This is a very difficult thing to do, is finding those like-minded individuals, because you're making a huge change in your life. You're switching up your lifestyle, essentially. And finding people on the same path can be very difficult, especially if you were like me. You just played video games all day and you didn't really do much. Work wasn't a huge issue for you. Chances are you surrounded yourself with the people that are similar to you, people that just play video games all day. And now you want to make this change. Well, those people are probably going to say, why bother? Let's play video games. Let's play video games tonight. And that's the hardest part, is not seeing those friends anymore, and also trying to find the friends that are going to push you to continue this change in your life. That's a very difficult thing. A thing that I haven't been able to truly experience yet. I mean, I can look online, but I don't have anybody in real life that's kind of like on the same journey as me. So it's difficult. But the way I supplement that is listening to people online that have either already made it or are on that journey, that same journey as me, of self-improvement every day, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of those things that are constantly trying to improve, constantly trying to reach the next level. So I listen to those people. I listen to those people and what they have to say, their insights, their wisdom, what they have to teach, all their experiences that they have to go through. And it really takes a wise person to take somebody else's experiences and learn from somebody else. Learn from somebody else's experience instead of having to go through your own experience, realize a mistake, and then learn from that. It takes a wise person. I'm going to repeat that. It takes a wise person to take someone else's experience and learn from that. So, surround yourself with those people if they're around you. And if they're not around you, you can find them at the gym sometimes. But if they're not around you, look for those people online. They have plenty of things to say. Look for the people that are constantly improving something about themselves. And be careful who you listen to, obviously. Be careful who you listen to, because sometimes they want to sell you something, sometimes it gets to be a scam, but sometimes they've got some huge nuggets of wisdom that'll help you along your journey of change, and you listen to them. Podcasts are great, all of those things, but listen to those people that are on the journey, or have kind of completed that journey, now are where you want to be. So listen to those people, study them, absorb the wisdom that they teach. It's free wisdom out there, and this is the era of free wisdom. There's so many podcasts, there's so many lesson plans, there's so many short YouTube videos. Even when you're watching this, whatever wisdom I can give to you, I want you to absorb for yourself, and I hope you never have to experience it to know. But that's how people usually learn. But yeah, don't make the mistake of not listening to those people, not searching for those people that are going to help you on your journey and make it easier for you to continue forward. Mistake number 4, oversharing. Now, this kind of lines up with mistake number 1, except I'm putting it on me. I'm grabbing some responsibility here. Now, when I was going through some heartbreak or something that, made me feel really upset with myself, or something would happen to me, and I would hate it, and it would not be my fault, or it would be my fault, but either way, I would just share it. I would share it with anybody that would listen, and I would want sympathy. That was what I would use it for. Every single time I shared, every single time I brought it up, I got some kind of sympathy. I got, it's not your fault. It's not, it's her fault. It's his fault. It doesn't really matter. Don't worry about it. But I would overshare just so I could feel better, just so I can get that affirmation from my friends. And it was it became such a problem because I would be feeling these emotions. I would be feeling really bad. I would be either furious or I would be really sad, and I would just want to share it. When in reality, I could have used that energy to focus it on something productive. I could have went to the gym when I was feeling all of those things, but I didn't. Instead, I wanted to feel better. I didn't want that painful feeling at the gym. I wanted the gratification of knowing that I'm being affirmed that I was right because somebody else, some person that I'm sharing it with is telling me, yeah, you're right. So I would overshare all the time, and it was such a mistake. You know, when you, I believe this, but when you share with somebody and you overshare, you're constantly just talking about this event that happened to you. So it's just energy. You're just throwing out free energy that you can use to channel into something productive. So the way to stop this is to take the next step. Now, I'm not saying sharing with your friends is a bad thing. I think that sharing with your friends the hardship that you're going through or the pain that you're going through is important, but oversharing is useful for nobody because they already know. You've already shared with them. They already know. Now that everybody knows what you're going through, or that everybody that needs to know knows what you're going through, what's the next step? You still have these bad feelings. You shared, and you now know that somebody's trying to, take on a little bit of burden from your pain. That's great, but you still have this pain. But what are you going to do about it? That's the next step, is what are you going to do about it? And the thing you need to do about it is take a little bit of responsibility, no matter what that is, no matter how painful it is. When you look at that situation, you analyze that situation. What could I have done differently to prevent this? Or what did I do that made this my fault? Grab that and channel it. Channel it into something that you can improve on. Maybe it was, I don't even know. Maybe you could have seen it coming. Like somebody you and your friends got into a fight. You got into a fight, and maybe it was something you said that was, maybe it was something you said that ticked him off, and now you're no longer friends anymore. And you're like, okay, maybe I was being insensitive. Maybe I went a little too far. And that's something you can improve about yourself. Or if it's not even something you could go over there and you can apologize like a man. Or if it's something that you can't fix, no matter what happens, you can't fix that relationship anymore, then focus it into something productive, like improving yourself, making sure that never happens again. And working out. If you can't figure it out, just go to the gym. Go to the gym with what you got going on. The gym is the best place for a man to... Well, it's the best therapy. It's the best therapy for a man. It's going to the gym. So make sure that you don't overshare like I did. Take that next step and move forward and prove yourself. And finally, mistake number 5, going back to old habits. Now, I did this a lot. This was probably, this snuck up on me. This would sneak up on me multiple times. And throughout my whole life of trying to attempt to change my life, attempt to pursue a better life for myself, this would sneak up on me the most, and it was going back to my old habits. Now, I've got everything in place. I've got the schedule. I've got what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick with it. And I start sticking with it. I keep going. Eventually, my friend hits me up. Hey, haven't talked to you in a while. Let's play some video games. And I'm like, well, it's my friend. Let's play some video games. I would play video games, and we would play for hours, all night. And eventually, it would just lead me back to where I was. Because I'm autopilot when I'm playing video games. I'm autopilot. So the more you live your life on autopilot, no matter how much you set up these systems for yourself, set up the schedule for yourself, once you start going back on autopilot, like I said, you'll snowball. Eventually, you'll be like, well, I want to play video games with him again, and he's playing tonight as well. So that was so much fun. I'm gonna play video games again. I'm gonna do what I need to do, of course, but I'm gonna keep playing video games. I'm gonna have this little thing, right? I'm gonna have this little thing for myself, right? And yeah, I'm still gonna stick with the schedule, but I still want to keep this old habit of mine that I like, that lets me turn my brain off. And some people can do that, but for me, I couldn't. And I bet that a lot of people out there can't do that as well. So I highly encourage that if you're building good habits, you need to get rid of your old ones. You cannot go back to your old habits, especially the ones that turn your brain off. So if you're starting to eat healthy, do not give in to just eating junk for one day. Sometimes you'll have to, but try to keep it as healthy as possible. And at the gym, do not go back to the old habit of just, and this comes from like waking up early, because I wake up early to go to the gym, but do not go back to the old habit of shutting your alarm off, skipping the gym, and sleeping in. And also staying up late and playing video games. Like, all of these things are old habits, and you need to replace the old habits with new ones, because these are bad habits to have. And when bad habits snowball, they can take over the good habits, because the good habits are harder to maintain. The bad habits are easy. The bad habits are easy because you've done it for so long. So be careful going back to old habits. That one would sneak up on me every time, because I would just allow it to sneak into my life and just be like, oh, I remember doing this. This is nice. And then suddenly my whole schedule is just ruined. This whole self-improvement thing, ruined. I would just go back to old habits, eat the way I used to eat, wake up the time that I usually wake up, sleep the time I usually sleep, play video games all day instead of working. It's a slippery slope every single time. And just be careful. Now, this all sounds very overwhelming. This is very difficult. You're trying to change your life, you're trying to listen to all these gurus, and now all of a sudden you're getting all of these things you're trying not to do, all of these things maybe you should do. It's overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming. But I guarantee you it's worth it, because nobody else is doing this. Think of that. Nobody else is doing this. Why? Because it's hard. It's hard. It is hard to change your life. It's hard to change your eating habits. It's hard to wake up on time. It's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to make sure you're not slipping back to your old ways. It's hard, but that's what makes it worth doing. That's what makes it worth doing. If everybody could just change their life at the snap of a finger, I'm sure everybody would do it. But nobody does it now, because it's not the snap of a finger. It is constant diligence and discipline to recognize that you need to change your life, and you're not going to accept anything else, that you can't go back to the way you were. So I encourage every single person out there, if this is daunting, if this is overwhelming, get used to it. Get used to it. Prepare yourself for this daunting change. Prepare yourself for it, because not everybody can do this, but the people that do never regret it, because they're living fantastic lives. I'm living a fantastic life. I'm not even where I want to be yet. And every single day I wake up and I stick to my schedule, and I keep working hard, and I make sure I'm at the gym, and I make sure that I'm just learning Muay Thai all the time. All of these things compiled together and happening every single day, working on my business, working on investing, all of these things, every single day. I love the journey. I'm not at the destination where I want to be, but just being on this journey it's been more fulfilling than anything I've done in my life, because now I have a goal, a purpose, a drive to be the best that I can be who I was meant to be. And I want that for all of you too. So don't give up, because there's nothing, when you give up and you go back to that life, there's nothing there for you. When you look at it, just take a good look at it, at this life that you're living. Or if you've made the decision to change your life, look at the life you're leaving behind. Look at the life you're leaving behind and say, man, I'm glad I'm not there. Or look at the life you're living now and say, wow, I really need to change, because I can't spend the next 5 years doing this, 10 years doing this, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years doing this and this only. You got this, man.